Welcome back, my friends, for the last presentation. Can you believe it? I hope you have enjoyed this training series, this Nutrition is Life training series. I think of that title, and as I came up with the series, I kept going back and forth with other more fancy names, but when it came down to it, I had to be honest with myself. This is really what captured the essence of it. Nutrition has to be life. It can't be convenience. Think what I just said. Most Americans will say nutrition is convenience. And obviously that sentiment is echoed in our very practices, where we find the average American is pounding 150 pounds of sugar per year and eating 70% of their diet is processed foods, all of which we know aids and abets the disease process. Okay, so I am extremely excited to wrap this up today with really the essentials of lifestyle change that will lead to consistency. And that's really what your golden key is. Consistency. Now, that's obviously easier said than done. And there are key elements and principles that I will elaborate on today that are paramount to your long-term success. Now, don't get overwhelmed by what I'm about to share with you. Remember, you're on a journey, and if these elements are not second nature to you in your life, that's okay. Given time, they will be. Given time, they will become habitual, and you won't even have to think about it. They'll just be, like I mentioned, they'll almost be robotic. They're on autopilot for you, and that's exactly where we want them. Okay, so keep this in mind, that consistency is truly your key for health, for true health. I'm not talking about weight loss. I'm not talking, now those things are all important. I'm not mitigating anybody's goal, but true health, vitality, functionality, wellness, happiness, and fulfillment cannot be had unless we treat our body as a temple and we do it consistently. Okay, now, have you ever had the experience, like our little guy here at the starting line, where we are crouched down, we're excited for something, we want to lose weight, we want to start eating better, we want to feed our family better, we want to feed ourselves better, and we keep saying to ourselves, ready, set, and nothing happens. And then we say it again, ready, set, and then nothing happens again. Out of frustration, we kind of ask ourselves, well, what's going on here? We say it again, ready, set, and we stay. How is it that this happens? How does this phenom come about? How is it that we, as responsible adults, can't seem to make that long-term commitment? The question needs to be asked. How many times have you started something and you never finished? Ready, set, ready, set. You might even start, but there's no finish line. It's always just the starting line. Now, if you're honest with yourself and you find that there have been those times, you need to understand something. We're talking about a mental construct, a subconscious program that we've alluded to in the previous programs, but let me just say this. 96 to 98% of all human behavior is generated from the subconscious mind. This means you're not thinking about it, right? It is like a computer running a program, and those programs dictate the results that you get in your life. Now, inconsistency, starting something, stopping something, starting something, stopping something, etc. Here's what this breeds. First and foremost, on a subconscious and even on a conscious level, it breeds self-doubt. Start to doubt. Now, let me give you a perfect example. January 1st rolls around. You get committed, you get motivated, you might even take it a step further and get inspired. But yet there's that voice in the back of your head that is coming from your subconscious, which translates into your conscious. It says, well, I don't know, what about the last 5 years? You've tried that before. It lasted until about mid-February and you were toast. Right? This voice, that little inner critic, bears its ugly head. It breeds feelings of inadequacy. You don't feel adequate to the task. Your doubt naturally breeds into this state of inadequacy. And it ultimately has you feeling stuck. Right? And when you're stuck and you feel inadequate and you have self-doubt, what it does really is it gives you a battered self-image as it pertains to health and fitness. And you start to just say to yourself, well, as a defense mechanism, you may start to say to yourself, well, this is just the way I am. Some of the more common phrases that I hear from clients is, well, genetically, I'm predisposed to be a little more big-boned or a little higher in my girth. Or we use euphemisms because we're trying to protect our self-image. And I get it. We want to be good to ourselves. Nobody wants to feel like garbage. We want to feel good. So the reason I'm pointing this out, to feel good requires consistency. To change a habit requires consistency. To change your lifestyle, your health and fitness lifestyle, which transcends into every other area of your life, requires consistency. Because consistency breeds new habits, and that's where you're robotic about it. That's where you really don't even have to think about it. It just is. So, ironically, think of this as a paradox. The only antidote to inconsistency is consistency. Now, that, like I say, the only way you can cure that is consistency. The reason I say it's a paradox is because most people, when they're inconsistent, they have reasons as to why. So during today's presentation, I want to give you some tips and some strategies that you can implement into your life that will help you breed this consistency in your life, which is so vital to your success. So let's look at some of these key elements and ask yourself as we go through this, what elements are you genuinely missing? Again, I'd remind you that this is a time for self-honesty. First, do you have a crystal clear vision of what you want? Now, not what you don't want. You don't want to be overweight. Okay, that's not what you don't want. Do you have a crystal clear vision of what you want to look like, how you want your health to be, how you want to feel, what you want your clothes to look like on you, what kind of food you want to be consuming, how many times you're exercising, right? We're going to go into crystal clear vision, or CCV, in great lengths. So hold tight. What about supporting goals? It's nice to have a vision, but do you have supporting goals to go along with them? What about your why? Why is it that you want to get healthy? This is one of the key driving factors that needs to be addressed. We're going to talk about that as well. What about action amidst adversity? When we have adversity in our life, it's so easy because the stakes are high and the stress is high. It's easy to throw the towel in. Now, by the way, I've been here. I don't come before you as saying I've never copped out when the going gets tough, but I can tell you, quite honestly, that as I've bred new habits into my life, when tough times come, when tragedy strikes, my nutrition is not affected by it. It actually sustains me. My daughter was recently diagnosed with type 1 diabetes earlier this year. And I remember that there was a tremendous amount of stress that came with it, emotionally, psychologically, financially. I don't know if most of you know what type 1. Type 1 is the more serious. It's where the pancreas essentially doesn't secrete any insulin, and it's quite costly. It's quite timely as far as how much time it mops up from your life trying to manage it, because you have to be there constantly, like a human pancreas, having to take care of your daughter constantly. And I remember as we were going through this transition stress, my wife and I, it was comforting to know that my nutrition had not changed. And it's interesting, in retrospect, I actually gravitated towards it. So action amidst adversity, usually when a lifestyle has not been conceived and cemented, if you will, a healthy lifestyle cemented into reality, when adversity comes, when that proverbial curveball comes, it's so easy to back out and say, well, you know what, I'm stressed. I'm just going to have to think about food and nutrition and this whole consistency thing mañana, because I'm in survival mode, baby. If we have new habits, we will truly be in survival mode, because under those types of stress, we will be taking in food that is conducive to stress. It's the ultimate irony, isn't it? That when we become under stress, we usually eat foods that create more stress in our body, which is the ultimate paradox. It's ironic. Do you have an incremental approach? Meaning, are you weaning off of sugar? Are you doing the action assignments that are set up to be incremental in the Nutrition is Life program? See, we've done the work for you. You just need to implement the action assignments. Everything that you need as far as making the key elements, the basic fundamentals of nutrition work in your life, are contained within these 6 weeks. Right now, you're not learning every recipe under the sun. You're not having everything on a platter for you, but what you are learning is the fundamentals, the key elements that cannot and that often are overlooked. So ask yourself, what are you missing as we dive into this? Let's look at that first key element. The first key element is the crystal clear vision, or the CCV. And you'll have to forgive my daughter in the background. She must be getting disciplined right now. So when we are looking into creating a crystal clear vision, we have to have a few steps. Now, let me just preface it by saying this. A crystal clear vision, right? A crystal clear vision is something that very few people actually possess. Napoleon Hill was famous for quarantining 100 people at a time and asking them, what is your definite purpose in life? Where somebody could literally describe and give him direction of what they feel their purpose and their calling in life is. And you know what was interesting? He replicated his studies literally hundreds of times, and his percentage always came out to 2% that could give him a solid answer. They let life dictate. They went with cultural norms. Well, you know, to make a decent living and to, you know, love myself and my family. Okay, that's great. Nobody's mocking that. That's a great attribute, but why are you here? Right? This is what he was asking. Now, as it pertains to health and fitness, what do you intend to manifest into your life? Do you just intend to lose weight? Whenever somebody calls in, well, I just need to lose weight. Well, why? Well, because I want to get healthy. Well, why? Well, because then if I'm healthy, my doctor will give me a clean bill of health. Well, why is that important? Well, because then once he gives me a clean bill of health, it's just eases my mind. Well, why do you want your mind eased? What is that giving you? What is health going to give you in your life? What is it going to bring into your life that will give you pleasure? Because aren't we here to either gain pleasure or avoid pain? What are you getting from this? And it's interesting, they really haven't thought about it. So we're going to get to the nitty gritty here and define exactly what we want, not focus on what we don't want. So step number one is to create a blueprint of what you want in your life. What do you want it to be like? And by the way, this whole crystal clear vision, I would extend the invitation to make this for your life in general, and then have a facet of it describe the terrain of what you want your health and fitness lifestyle to look like. So this is a mental blueprint of what you want your life to be like. Now, for 98% of us, this is a new concept because most of us are focusing on what we don't want. I don't want to be fat. I don't want to have low self-esteem. I don't want to have energy highs and lows, and I don't want to be addicted to sugar. I've got news for you. We need to shift that thinking. We want to start to look at what we want our life to be like. We are at the buffet of life, right? And we're choosing what we want. In other words, we are looking for our innermost desires. Now, we live in a culture where that just think, oh, well, that's just selfish of you. You got to serve other people before yourself. Did you know that that's absolute hogwash? Think of it. How can you give what you do not have, right? I cannot serve or love anybody more than I serve or love myself. I cannot give what I do not have. If I am not healthy, then I don't feel good internally. My body's physiology doesn't lend itself to self-love. And if I don't have self-love, it's very hard to love somebody else. Okay, so your innermost desires need to be respected. You need to take time for yourself. And we need to get over this attitude that we don't have time for ourselves because we're too busy serving other people. Right? As pious as that might be, it's unrealistic. And here's the irony. The more we serve ourselves in a healthy, functional, non-selfish, non-narcissistic way, the more we can serve other people. Okay? So your innermost desires, what do you want? Create a picture. What do you want to look like? What do you want to feel like? Where do you want your energy to be? Right? Can you just picture yourself, walking up a flight of stairs without getting winded? Can you picture yourself throwing the frisbee with your kids or your grandkids and not getting winded? Or even if you're winded, at least you're functional and you're not having to get sore and sit on your sofa for 3 days because your muscles aren't used to it. Okay? This innermost desires comes from your soul. Now, when you interpret that the way that you want to, but when I say soul, what I'm talking about is the part of you that is intelligent. It knows what you want. And I think, without going too deep here, I think you know what I'm talking about here. Your soul is that part of you that if you listen to it, it never deludes you. It doesn't lead you onto a false path. It's the part of you that says, hey, this is what you can do. This is what you're capable of. And by the way, you're better than what you're doing. It's that part of you that truly is in all of us. And I'm not trying to be melodramatic, but I think that you would agree that if you find this place, you can live from it. Okay, so this is interesting. And the reason I put this in this Nutrition is Life series is because we've been taught as a society to doubt everything, to be realists, to cross-examine everything, and don't get your hopes up. I'm telling you, do just the opposite of that. If you have those inspirational feelings like, I do want to lose weight, I do want to be my best self, I do want to have energy, I want to treat my body like a temple, like I've been told my whole life, honor those feelings. When your soul tells you something, honor it. Don't subdue it with this reasoned out logical response, which usually 99.9% of the time limits us from our own self proactivity, which leads into better and brighter paths. Okay? You need to be clear, concrete, and make it tangible. So what do you want? Talk to me about it. Talk to yourself about it. And do it in a way that it literally is tangible. I talk about wrapping your mind around it. For example, you can wrap your mind around something that is clear and concrete, such as the following. Let's just pull out an example out of the air. If you want to eat healthy and lose weight, you could say something like, I eat healthy, nutritious, wholesome foods each and every day. And my body is my report card, and I love my grade. Okay, I just pulled that out of the air, but think about that. That's clear and concrete. I am eating wholesome, healthy foods each and every day. Right? It's pretty clear. It's telling you exactly what you can get, even more than that. And that's where goals really come in. But what you're doing is you're creating a picture, an image that is clear and concrete that your brain can wrap its arms around and say, yep, that's exactly what I want. And if you do that right, it usually is quite inspiring because remember, we live in a society where that everything's so serious and we don't want to get to the point where we're setting ourselves up for failure and have these false expectations. You want something that is inspiring. And by the way, anything you write down, if it comes from your soul, is going to be just fine. It's going to be legit because your soul is the genuine part of you, not the BS egotistical part of us that doubts everything and we label ourselves negatively. Okay, ever thought of that? It's your compass. Okay, your crystal clear vision will act as your compass in those times of temptation where you feel like, man, those Oreo cookies look really good. I want that Coke. This is going to serve as your compass to pull you back to ground zero and to get you focused on what you want. Right? Because ultimately you don't want the Coke because that's going to take you away from your goal. Now, when you are making your crystal clear vision, you have to make it definitive and definite. Now, this is going deeper on the tangibility component. Make it to where you can almost quantify it. It's so definite, there's no ambiguity to it. There's no guesswork. You know exactly what you want. Again, 2% of the people that Napoleon Hill interviewed knew. Not you. You're going to make a clear, definitive statement. This is your vision. Okay? So these bullet points are reinforcing what I've said. Now, one thing on my fourth bullet point down here, don't worry about the hows for now on the crystal clear vision. Just the what. Don't worry, get bogged down into the, how am I going to do that? I just don't know if I can, how am I going to get that healthy food to work? Don't worry about it. Just think about what you want. Start to define your health and your fitness. Now let's look at an example here. Step one. I am skinny and feel good about myself. Now let me ask you, does that feed or fill rather the criteria that we just set out? Is that definitive and definite? Is there guesswork? Is that a crystal clear picture? Absolutely not. What does skinny mean? That's a very relative term. Well, you feel good about yourself. Well, what does that mean? About what? What part of you do you feel good about? Let's get a little more clear, a little more concrete. Versus this, I am 15% body fat, weigh 125 pounds, and feel confident in the way I look. So you have three concrete things there: body fat, pounds, and your confidence in the way you look. In other words, you don't lack confidence, you are confident. You don't have bad self-esteem, you have good self-esteem via your confidence. Okay? There is no guesswork. Now, that's just a small snippet of somebody's CCV. Now, your whole statement should have this clear, definitive language that points your brain in the right direction, gives it a nice big bullseye. So let's keep going. Here's step number 2. You want to make this inspiring. Okay, now obviously I've said this before. That's kind of a 4-letter word here in our society. We, especially when it comes to ourselves, because we should be serving others, you want to inspire yourself. You want this to resonate to your high self. Again, that soul, that part of you that tells you you can, not the part of you that tells you you can't. How many times have we been acquainted with that inner critic that keeps telling us the same garbage, the same stupid story each and every day, and then you get somebody that comes along and says, hey, start to think empowered thoughts. You're like, oh, it's just one of those self-help gurus. I hear that all the time. People will comment on some of the people, the authors that I listen to, and they say, oh, so unrealistic, they're self-help gurus. Well, what would you rather focus on? What you can do or what you can't? Your highest self is nothing more than the part of you that resonates with what your soul wants, the part of you that is innately already healthy. So if it's innately already healthy and it's asking you to be healthy, why not listen, right? Why not listen to the innermost desires and ambitions that we talked about? And what about finding your why? if we're going to make it inspiring, if we're going to make a lifestyle change a reality, we have to have a reason. Let's be real with one another, okay? You got to have a why. If you don't have any reason, if you're doing it because your spouse is making you, or you just feel like you should, and you're dragging your feet, and it's arduous and just so annoying, it's not going to work. You know it, I know it. Let's be real with one another. It's not going to work. So a why is that part of you that will inspire you to action. That is an immortal truth. Okay? This is the part, the emotional part of you that literally moves you to action. Now you think about the word emotion. Emotion is energy in motion. So emotion is what drives you literally to actions from a logical and from a metaphysical standpoint. So you got to find your why. Now, if you find your why and it's inspiring, you can use what I call the goosebump test. Right? That means when you read your crystal clear vision of what you want, it's going to inspire you literally to the point where you get goosebumps. That or something akin to it. Might not actually be goosebumps, but usually when I read my crystal clear vision, I can find, or I do frequently find, that goosebumps are the byproduct. I'm inspired by it, right? And allow yourself this experience. Don't have that little inner critic say, oh, this is so cheesy, so stupid, blah, blah, blah. Allow yourself to have this opportunity, okay? Now, one thing that I failed to mention here, coming back to this slide, I want to talk a little bit about what my why is, just to give you an example of what I'm looking for. A why, for me, my most powerful why, is honestly the way I feel. Now, again, look where I just started. I didn't project that into somebody else. I started with myself. Now, I know that sounds selfish, blah, blah. If I can't take care of myself, if I can't be energetic, if I can't be passionate about life, if I can't inspire myself, how am I ever going to inspire another human being? I own a business that my job is to help change people's lifestyle. I name my business Lifelong Fitness. I have to do that. I have an enormous why of staying healthy. Why? Because I love it. I love having energy. I love being passionate. I love being the weird guy. And when they ask me why I have so much energy and so much passion and why I can run circles around 25-year-olds, I say because I take care of my body. I love that. Now, that might sound narcissistic and cocky from the outside, but I assure you that it's nothing further from the truth. Matter of fact, the healthier I get, the more love and compassion and empathy I have for other people. Because I started with myself, the more I want to serve people, the more I want to be there for people. Right? And this is why I feel compelled to help you. Because you have to start with yourself. Okay? That's a why. Another one of my whys is I want to be the best husband. I want to be full of energy. I want to literally have physical, emotional, and spiritual energy to me so that I can give that to my spouse, to Taryn. I want to be the best father. That's another why. It's an emotionally charged reason. All of these are emotionally charged reasons why I want to be healthy. This is why I won't choose the donut and I will go for a whole food. This is why I will effectively live my 80-20 lifestyle so that I can earn these elements of life. I have to earn being the best father. I have to earn making a living by literally embodying and encompassing the principles that I teach so that I'm not a hypocrite where people can see right through me. Right? So these are my whys. Plus, I just flat out love it. That's another why. I love learning about nutrition. I love exercise. See, but a why is what drives me. Let's talk about step 3 as we shift gears here. It must be personal. When you're creating your crystal clear vision, it must be personal. It is written for you only. Again, this comes from a model that we call I, we, and all. Now, this comes from an Eastern philosophy. The Czech Institute has really kind of crystallized this. And this is what I've been talking about. I cannot have a relationship with anybody optimally unless I take care of myself. And then once we have a relationship, we can't contribute to the greater good unless we have taken care of ourselves. You see, we have this as a society all backwards. We serve everybody except ourselves, and then we're burned out and we're getting on caffeine and sugar and stimulants just to keep up because we haven't taken care of ourselves. We haven't exercised. We haven't slept enough. We haven't given our body proper nutrition to rebuild itself, and we keep stressing. Oh, I got to serve this and do this, blah, 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 blah. I've got this checklist. And at the end of the day, if we're honest with ourselves, we have to go introspectively and say, hey, is this really serving everybody else when I'm destroying myself? Right? So when you're writing your crystal clear vision, it has to be written for you, and it has to be realistic to your ultimate goal. Right? It should stretch you, but it's got to be realistic. Now, let's keep going forward for step 4. It must be stated in the present tense. Now, again, the subconscious mind is what we have talked about as far as programming. Remember, you are a result of the programs that run in your subconscious mind. Why? Because, as this little graph says, all meaningful decisions are made at the subconscious level. Literally 96 and 98% of all your behaviors, the way you eat, the way you drink, the way you dress, the way you talk, the tone of your voice, the way you treat people, your disposition and your demeanor in general is contingent upon what's loaded into your subconscious mind. So, the subconscious mind operates in the now. It's really kind of a paradox because it stores information. It has the function of a storehouse, but yet it can only function in the now. It only perceives right now. It doesn't perceive the future. It doesn't perceive the past. It has information stored in it, but it doesn't operate on that level. Your conscious mind does. Now, your conscious mind can go and fetch some information from your subconscious mind, but yet it's still your conscious mind that does that. Okay, so your subconscious mind only operates in the now. It is literally the part of you that runs the programs, to use a computer analogy. And you can only reprogram it using language in the present tense. For example, if you say, I will be 180 pounds. Let's say you're 225, you want to get down to 180. I will be 180 pounds. Guess what? If the subconscious mind operates in the now, it keeps saying, okay, yes, you will be, but you're not that now. Pretty simple. Okay? So it's got to be in the present tense. Now, I feel like I need to, okay, before I move on. So what I'm saying about this last point is make sure when you're writing your crystal clear vision that you phrase it in the present tense. I am this. I do this. And now I know this is contradictory to maybe what you're doing right now, because maybe you're not doing all that in the present tense. That's fine. I want you to couch it in the present tense. Act as if. Okay? Now, step 5 is this. I want you to write it, draw it, record it, or video it, or do a combination according to your preference. We all have different learning preferences. You might be highly visual. You see the little vision board on the slide here. That is excellent. You might be audible. Record your voice going through your crystal clear vision, telling you exactly what you are. Right? Might it be a combination? Maybe you like visual, but you also like the auditory. So you put together a video that literally gives you visuals of what you want, but you hear your voice kind of incanting and affirming everything that you want. Now, it's very important that you find out what this learning style is. You probably already intuitively know this. What is it that really allows you to learn effectively and efficiently? Often you're going to find that it is a combination. Now, my last point on this slide is that you do want to include a written version regardless of your style. And there's a reason for this. The reason is if you have it on your phone or on a little piece of paper, you can pull that out at any time. If you're in a meeting and you're like, oh man, I just want some Coke and some brownies right now. Oh. And or you have a moment where you feel like your self-confidence is waning. You literally can pull it out and you can review it. Remember, you're trying to reprogram your subconscious mind. The only way that that's going to happen is if you are constantly repeating it and attaching emotion to it. Let me say that one more time because it's that important. The only way you're ever going to reprogram your subconscious beliefs is to have a high element of repetition. You have to continually repeat and incant and affirm new programs into your mind because right now it's running garbage programs. Right? Oh, I can't do that and I don't have time and I can't afford organic food or natural food. It's so expensive. See, it is loaded with a bunch of mind viruses. And again, that's not to indict anybody, that is to illuminate. Now, with a written version, anytime you have that garbage thinking, you can literally pull it out and put that bad boy right in front of you and read it. What does that do? If it's written in the present tense and it's been written according to our guidelines, then all of a sudden you are getting a statement that is changing your life and you're getting it in real time, and that negative thought is going to be introduced to the back door. Okay? Kick it out. Let's look at step number 6, which is read it aloud at least twice per day. Preferably in the morning while still drowsy, and at evening time when becoming drowsy. Now, what science has conclusively shown us is that the subconscious mind is more amenable to change when you are getting into a different wavelength of sleeping patterns. We all have 4 different wavelengths. Once you get past the beta and the alpha phase, you get into what's called theta and delta waves. When you're in the theta and delta waves, your subconscious mind, more particularly in the theta wave, you are, like I mentioned before, more amenable to changing the program. Now, we don't know exactly why. Scientists have not clearly told us why, but yet, time after time, when they do studies on this, they find the same thing. So, in the morning, right off the get-go, you're reading this. Right before you go to bed, when you're getting drowsy, 10 being you're out cold, when you get to like a 6 or a 7 on that drowsy scale, pull that bad boy out and just soak it in like a sponge. Now, read it throughout the day when tempted to indulge in a sugary treat or deviate from your crystal clear vision, or if you're having what Paul Chek would call stinking thinking, where you have all the negative mind viruses and the memes circulating through your head, all the, quote, realist thoughts and blah, blah, blah. Pull it out, read it, and start to reprogram. Remember, the more, the better. More you can have that in front of you on your inner radar, the better. You want to literally be able to reprogram as many times as possible throughout the day. Now, let's see. Okay, I already said all this. So let's look at a crystal clear vision example. Now, this one is from one of my female clients. This was from about 4 years ago, and I really like it, so I just chose to use this one now. By the way, the length of a CCD is personal to you. I'd say at least a page, just so you can get everything in there. Remember, if you're doing a crystal clear vision for your whole life, at least a page, because you want to cover everything. You want to cover the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, all of it. Professional, social, all that needs to be built into a crystal clear vision. What do you want? What do you stand for? What are your principles? And write it down and get it documented. Here's one that, this was the health and fitness faction of her crystal clear vision. I seek thrill and self-control. I choose to live in a heightened state of awareness so that I do not eat subconsciously. It is through this conscious thought that I change subconsciously. I like her clarification there. I love my body. I respect my spirit, and I am aware that sugar and processed food detract from both. Therefore, I only eat whole foods that are non-processed, and I keep my processed sugar intake to under 30 grams per day. This allows me to enjoy a small treat, yet maintain control over my appetite and desires. I consume 6 servings of vegetables per day, drink half of my body weight in water, and exercise 6 times per week. Um, by the way, she did mess up. That drink half of my body weight in ounces. That's what that should say. That is word for word. So anyway, I feel energetic, confident, and control of my life. I help others overcome their addictions to sugar using the principles that I have learned, and it brings me great joy. My relationship with my husband is amazing, and we continually reinforce one another's healthy eating habits. I take my duty as a mother very seriously. I am an example to my kids and only allow them to have one treat per day. I love being in control of my life and cherishing the feeling that it brings. Now, my question is, as we went through that, does this crystal clear vision, pull it back up here, is this in the present tense? Absolutely. Is she clear in what she wants? Absolutely. She touches a lot of elements there. She talks about sugar, she talks about vegetables, she talks about whole foods. Pretty much everything that you're learning in this series, she talks about. And it's when she wrote this, she didn't have the best relationship with her husband. She didn't only have 30 grams of processed sugar per day, right? She literally was, I think she started like with around 80 grams of sugar a day. She was stressed out with her relationship. She put this all in the present tense. And you know what? Although she doesn't live a perfect life, she has gradually advanced and did advance towards this and obtained just about everything that you're reading. So I like this example because it passes the test, the criterion test that you saw previously. Now, let's look at the key elements, the supporting goals. Remember that we have looked at the SMART model. I'm not going to go over this, but when you are using goals, remember to use the SMART goal system. We've already covered this. Now, let's look at the difference between your CCV and your goals. Look at the top bullet point here. A CCV is your what. Remember, I instructed you when you first started your CCV, just focus on what you want. Now, your goals are the how. How are you going to get there? What are the sequential steps that you're going to take? So your CCV is the prize, right? It's your bullseye. CCV is your ultimate goal, and your goals are the path that leads to it. There are times when you're going to adjust goals when needed. Now, let me give you a quick example. Here's the difference. If I wanted to lose body fat, here's what my CCV would say. I am 15% body fat. Let's say I'm 30%. I am 15% body fat. I exercise daily. And I eat whole foods. That's my CCV. Now here's the difference of what a CCV would say. It's clear and it's concrete. That's what I'm doing. Now the goals would be how you're going to do that. Here's what a goal would say. So starting with specific, I would say, I am eating 4 to 6 servings of vegetables each and every day, and I prepare them the night before so that they are readily available. See, so I just stated the how. How are you going to get those 4 to 6? The crystal clear vision was very clear. It said, I am eating 4 to 6 vegetables per day. Well, how are you going to do it? Well, the goal says I am going to cut them up the night before and have them ready. The goal of being fit would be I will exercise each and every day for 45 minutes at 7 o'clock in the morning. That's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to go running 3 days, and on the remaining days I will be at the gym. Okay? That is the how. So adjust those goals. If your plan's not working, you might need to adjust them. But truth is, if you're working with a little bit of realism and your crystal clear vision is coming from your soul, you're going to know exactly what you need to do. So let's look at this concept of dealing with, quote, real life. I love that, this real life thing. And this is something I've really looked into. We like to create euphemistic statements that exonerate us from responsibility. One of these euphemistic statements is, oh, well, life happened. So this is what many of us blame life for when we fall off the wagon. Well, life happened. Now, again, I am not trying to impugn anybody or disrespect anybody, but at the same time, I would be doing myself and you a disservice if I told you that real life is just going to throw us off the wagon and derail us. How can we ever expect to make a long-term change if that's the case? Life's not going to slow down. Life's not going to stop throwing the curveballs. Life isn't going to stop throwing the tragedy even. That's what life is. That's what it's meant to do. It's how we grow, right? And so how do we get to a state of being consistent? And here's what I've got to offer. You have to start by making a real decision. Now, a real decision, if you cut that into the Latin root, comes from the word caetere, which means to incite or cut off from, incise. So you literally are cutting off yourself from any possibility of failure, or you're cutting yourself off from any possibility of inaction. You're going to do it, right? A real decision is not a, well, maybe. I say this all the time. A decision, just a typical decision, is not really a decision. This is akin to sitting on the fence and getting slivers in your bum, right? You're just sitting there, I'm deciding. A real decision is a verb. It is an action word. You commit and you act. That's the difference. And you do it even when the going gets tough. Despite life's circumstances, you still act. Despite the curveballs, despite the hardships, the trials, the adversity, you still have to act. How do we do this? Now, I hope you're ready for this. Health must be your number one priority so that you can deal with real life. Now, please forgive me because I get extremely passionate about this one. We have this so very wrong in our country right now. When the going gets tough and when life throws adversity, because we're not habitual about working out or about eating healthy, we put health and fitness on the bottom of the totem pole. There is no priority. I have seen this as a health coach for literally 15 years now, where when life comes, when the curveball comes, health and fitness and working out and eating healthy and taking care of yourself as far as getting to bed on time, staying positive, and so on and so forth, it goes out the window. It's completely gone. Now, what I'm saying is that we literally must put health. Your health has to be your number one priority. Here's what I'm telling you. Work is not your number one priority, right? Even your family is not your number one priority. Oh, Griff, that's blasphemous. No, it's not, because you have to be healthy to give so that you can serve. How can you give what you don't have? This is my point, is we have to get through this fallacy of putting ourselves last. It is a dangerous thought. Look at where it's gotten us. The irony and the reward to this new line of thinking is that when you put this as another one healthy priority, you will be a better spouse. You will be a better parent. You will be a better professional. You will run a more smooth business. Why? Because you have the resources. You've got the resources mentally, emotionally, spiritually, socially, and so on. The resources are there. Health is what lends this. Health is everything. But ironically and paradoxically, we put it at the bottom of the rung. My favorite saying is, we worship at the altar of convenience, and we offer our health as the sacrificial lamb. Think about that. I'm going to have that on my tombstone when I die. But mine will say, I never offered my health as my lamb. We literally offer our health as the sacrificial lamb. It is, in most of our lives, the first thing that goes. Now, I would invite each and every one of us to dismiss our ego when it comes to this, and let's face up and square up to reality. If we don't, I just can tell you that lifestyle change will be nothing more than a pipe dream. Being proactive is, first of all, it's a buzzword. We've heard that for the last 30 years, but really what does that mean? If we're proactive versus reactive, Stephen R. Covey, in his landmark book, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, talks about this principle. And we can either be reactive to life and react to what's happening, or we can be proactive. For example, when life gets busy, we can say, I don't have time for food. It's just not enough time in the day. I don't have time for food prep. I'm just too busy. Look at my schedule. Here's my proof. Or we can be proactive. You can say, okay, we're going to make this a priority. We are literally going to schedule time in. Why? Because we make time for things that are important to us. And I know that I'm going to get more done when I take care of myself first, in the spirit of I, we, all. Okay? So you have to be proactive. Never be guilty of saying, I will get back on the wagon when life slows down, because here's the reality. It never will. It can't. It's just not the nature of it, especially in the West. You know, we mock and laugh at siestas. Oh, how do they get away with it? You know, life's not going to slow down. Life is what it is. Unless we make it slow down, unless we put ourselves first and are proactive. Okay, and we realize and accept the fact that health must be our priority. And ironically, sometimes we have to slow down to make it a priority. Okay, it's time to take action. Here's your homework assignment. Make the personal commitment to make a lifelong change for a healthy lifestyle. Share your commitment with all those with whom you associate and influence in your life. Okay? Share it with those that influence your life. Your dream team, if you will. Those people that are literally pulling for you every day. Your coach, your spouse, your family, all of them. Next, it is now your turn. I want you to take some time, sit down, and reflect on what you want your crystal clear vision to be. It should talk specifically about what you want your health and fitness to be like. Remember, you are now staring at the buffet of life, and it is now time to choose your health and fitness destiny. This is not, the destiny is not enveloped in your genes, I hate to tell you. Your DNA, your double helix, has nothing to do with what your health and fitness destiny is. Literally, if you look at the research of that, it's under 2% where people have no control. I dare say you're not part of that 2%. It is time to create what you want, not be invested in excuses, memes, or mind viruses that say, well, that's just not for me. It's not my genes, or whatever, okay? So, resolve to take the next 7 days and deeply reflect on your vision. Write down insights and desires that come to your mind when forming your crystal clear vision. Use the guidelines that we've specifically set out, and literally make this fun, guys. This is awesome. This is what you need, because you're making a picture of what you want. We are so in the grind, right? That, to take 15 minutes, that's all I'm asking. Take 15 minutes to reflect on your vision. Stack your vision against the credentials that we listed during this program. And be excited about this, right? Have it written, have a rough draft within 2 weeks on the dot, okay? There's everything to be excited about. I know I get passionate. I know that my tone might be foreign to what you're used to hearing. And if it wasn't, I'd be personally upset. You came to Lifelong Fitness, and if you spoke to me on the phone, I was very clear in that our intention is to help change your lifestyle. And I also told you that this Nutrition is Life was an integral part of this, at least if you called in within the last 2 years, right? So, this literally is my dream, that you will take and apply the principles that have been taught in this course. The biggest fallacy that we've been sold on is that knowledge is power. It's nothing of the sort. You can have a PhD, and I've seen this at the university level, PhDs in nutrition, and they're 50 pounds overweight. Knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge, taking action on what you know, is power. So I invite you and I challenge you, my friend, please take the principles that you've learned and put them into action. Use these action assignments. do these action assignments. If you have questions, we're here. You've got resources. We will give you what you need. That is my dream, that you find your potential. This is not simply about stepping on a scale and seeing a number. This is not about shedding a few pounds or just firming up, toning up. This is your lifestyle. This affects everything mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally in your life. That's why I'm so emphatic about this. You see, until we start to invite health and fitness to be our number one priority, all those other areas and aspects, including our spirituality, will suffer. And this is why it's so important. I thank you so much for being here during this series, for putting up with me, my passion. I just can't help myself. I love this so much. I love you guys, and I want to share this with you. And literally, I want this to be a life-changing experience. I hope you sense that. I hope that you sense that you are loved here at Lifelong Fitness, that we appreciate you. We will bend over backwards to help you, whatever we can do to help you obtain the lifestyle that you dream of. This should not be just another gym experience with you with some trainer in baggy cameo pants yelling at you. This should be a life-changing experience. That's my expectation, and my trainers know that. And hopefully you feel and sense the same way. God bless you guys. Always remember to never excuse away your inner greatness. And always remember, life is good.